In 1940, the United States took a crucial step in preparing for war by passing the Selective Service Act, drafting millions of men into the fighting service. But of course, one wouldn't allow such a forced risk of life for little to no pay. Or would they? Let's dive straight into the income of these soldiers, sailors, and Marines. There are three major components that make up a World War II soldier's pay. The first one being their rank. Unlike the modern day, military ranks didn't go in order from E1 to E9 and O1 to O9 respectively. The system was rather separated by grades for enlisted and pay periods for officers. I'll get into those ladders further on. The second major component is their time in service. This mirrors the current day, where soldiers with more time in service will earn an increase in pay. Lastly, the date. Even after the Selective Service Act detailed the standard pay for all soldiers in the military, there continued to be more acts passed later on that would affect the individual pay. Let's take a look at an overview of enlisted pay grades approved by the Selective Training and Service Act. Important to note, these monthly rates are specific to soldiers who had served under 4 years. I will go through each of these individually to explain a little bit more of which soldier was a part of what grade and how much the pay increased with service time as well. As expected, the lower grades started out smaller, with the 7th grade getting paid $30 monthly, whereas the 1st grade got paid $126 monthly. Now, most of us are probably thinking, $30 a month? That seems small. So let's adjust for inflation to better understand how much soldiers were actually making in today's standard. As you can see, the numbers were raised quite a bit, with even just the 7th grade increasing to almost $700 monthly. You still may be thinking, hey, that seems somewhat small. So let's put this into comparison with what the equivalent ranks would earn today. Noticeably, the pay has increased quite a bit from the 1940 standards, with today's privates earning around $2,000 a month. This also doesn't include the additional benefits that soldiers today are entitled to. Let's take a closer look at each individual grade, starting with the lowest. In 1940, the 7th grade was equivalent to what E1 is today in all of the branches. Now, the graph displayed earlier only showed those with service of under 4 years, so let's take a look at how additional service years factor into a 7th grade's pay. Similarly to how pay is increased with grade, it's increased with years of service, with the minimum pay equating to $30 monthly, ranging all the way to $37.50 monthly. Now, let's adjust this graph for inflation again to make the numbers more palatable. Now you may be asking, if these are soldiers that recently enlisted, how would they ever reach over 16 years of service? However much a rarity this would be, events such as demotions could leave a soldier at the lowest pay grade with a few more years of service than normal. These events would have to be fully encompassed within the regulations as well. Now that we've gone over what the pay increases look like for an individual grade, let's take a look at the rest of the grades. Continuing with the theme established previously, the 6th grade would equate to an E2 today, a 5th grade to E3, and so on and so forth. Similar to the pattern in the 7th grade, each grade pay rate increases with years in service. Adjusting for inflation gives us numbers that we can more easily analyze. So let's compare these numbers to the average pay of what a modern-day soldier would make, again, not accounting for any additional benefits. You can see, again, how the pay has substantially increased even when accounting for inflation. After gearing up for a potential war in 1940 with the Selective Training and Service Act, the U.S. was attacked at Pearl Harbor, marking the official entrance of the United States into the war on December 8, 1941. Let's take a peek at how the rates of pay differed from 1940 to 1941. All pay grades were increased by about $10 per month, or a little over $200 monthly today. The next pay change was administered on June 16, 1942, when FDR signed the Pay Readjustment Act of 1942 into law. This increased the number of years of service that were factored into enlisted pay, and again increased the base pay for enlisted soldiers. Instead of the maximum years of service differentiation reaching to 16 years, it now considered years of service up until 30 years, allowing the highest grade with the most years of service to earn up to $207 per month, just over $4,000 in today's standards. Let's go back in time a bit to 1922, when President Harding signed the Joint Service Pay Readjustment Act of 1922 into law. This law will allow us to look into the pay format of military officers rather than enlisted. Already, it is noted that the base pay for officers was much more significant than that of enlisted soldiers, with the lowest grade making $125 monthly versus the enlisted $30 monthly. Let's adjust this graph again for inflation. Notably, the highest level of officer would be making over $15,000 a month, assuming they had less than 3 years in service. Inevitably, this would not be the case, so let's take a closer look at how the years of service would affect the pay rate for the officer pay periods. Much like the enlisted ranks in 1942, officers were prescribed raises for years of service increasing to over 30. However, unlike the enlisted regulations, it is noticeable that officer raises between years of service isn't much. This is because the pay periods were already regulated by years of service as well as the officer's rank, making it a more substantial upgrade between pay periods rather than solely years of service. Let's compare the first pay period to what an average lieutenant would make today. Again, even not to include benefits authorized to second lieutenants, they would be making quite a bit more than their World War II counterparts. Lastly, let's return to the Pay Readjustment Act of 1942, which standardized officer pay along with the enlisted pay. Unlike the enlisted grades, the officer pay chart remained very similar, with a small percentage increase in the base salary, however keeping the years of service separation the same.